You're listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, featuring senior retail executives and experts in the global convenience and mobility industry.
Well, welcome to the Future of Convenience podcast. I'm Dan Munford, and when you hear this, we'll be at the NACS show. So just to let you know, we'll be recording our podcast, Future of Convenience podcast, live at the NACS show. So very much looking forward to that. It's always a very exciting show to be at, and we'll be interviewing lots of people. So what could be better? Turning to today, I'm very excited to talk with a trio of road trippers, road warriors, who've just concluded what really was a massively successful US road trip. They covered 4 US states. They visited with some of the big names, the best in class in US convenience retail, from Nouria, Alltown Fresh in Boston, to Wawa, Sheetz and Rutters in Philadelphia, to QuikTrip with a Q, QuikTrip with a K, and Cases in Des Moines, Iowa, right across to TXB in Austin. So some formidable US convenience retailers who very kindly rolled out the red carpet and hosted our group and helped us celebrate the search for the best convenience store in the world competition. We're going to hear all about what Frank, Ryan and Matt and others thought about those visits in the next 20 minutes or so. What stood out? Who potentially could be the winner for the best food store in the world competition? Because many of these retailers are entering the competition this year. Are you looking for a loyalty platform that drives real results? Liquid Barcodes is the leading loyalty and subscription platform for convenience retailers worldwide. Great convenience operators trust Liquid Barcodes to keep their customers coming back. Liquid Barcodes delivers the complete loyalty solution, making it easy to operate targeted and gamified loyalty programs with a fantastic user experience. Learn more at liquidbarcodes.com. So, as I said before, we're going to talk to the road trippers who just traversed the US in search for the best foodvenience operators in America. Let me introduce them. So first, we have a regular host on our show, and my friend Frank Gleeson. Frank's been in the convenience retail and food industry for a long time. He's often described as a veteran. And of course, as everyone will know, he'll be the incoming CEO come January 2026 at NACS as well. So welcome to you, Frank.
Hey, Dan. Great to be with you. Looking forward to the conversation.
And next, we have one of the key sponsors for the Best Foodvenience Store in the World competition, Matt Danielsen, CEO of Liquid Barcodes. Welcome, my good friend Matt.
Thank you, Dan. Excited to be on.
Well, thanks for joining us. And then we have, in addition, joining us today, and one of those road trippers with Matt and Frank is Ryan Oettinger, another key sponsor of our competition, who is Vice President and General Manager North America for Invenco by Gilbarco Vida by GVR. Welcome to you, Ryan.
Thank you, and honored to be here, gentlemen. Appreciate the invite.
Well, you guys all got to know each other pretty well. I mean, you really, I mean, there were other, obviously Mosley Group, Harry Miloff was on part of the tour as well, and Elaine came along from GVR, didn't she, as well as Karthik, and joined part of the tour. But you guys really, you were the tough ones who did the whole week, and it was so you got to know each other pretty well, I guess, on that week. There are no secrets left probably between the three of you.
So Dan, there's some great stories, but we're not going to share them with you today, because not everything went exactly according to plan, but we made it through thousands of air miles, thousands of driven miles, and some of the best chicken, pizza, you name it. We've had everything right across the East Coast of America and into Texas.
And I should say that Frank's favorite food that I learned is chicken. If there's one thing that Frank likes in convenience retailer, he was on the search for the best chicken. And we'll talk a little bit about that today.
I'm sure we'll hear this. Frank, just staying on you, can you sum up, as you and you're good at doing this, why did you guys take this journey? What were you looking for from each of these stores?
Yeah, Dan, just building kind of from last year where we launched the Best Foodvenience Store of the Year. We had a tremendous kind of entry from all over the world. I did a couple of field visits, as you know, into the US and, Pennsylvania, but I missed an awful lot. So I was determined this year, with your help, to go look a bit deeper, go a bit further, and really kind of see what's out there, encourage some of these great retailers that I've known for many years to enter our competition, or to just highlight perhaps, the amazing work that's going on in our industry, not just in convenience, but more importantly in food service. And that term we coined, Foodvenience, is alive and well and getting stronger. I can testify factually that the best chicken in America is probably in a convenience store, not in a QSR, because I've had a lot of chicken over the last week.
And of course, well, absolutely, Frank. And I guess, the point here, this is a global competition that we run. The US would have a strong case to say that, it's the home of Foodvenience in convenience stores. It's a lot of it started in the US, Frank, didn't it?
It did. And that's, I think, an important point. I've been traveling there for probably 20 odd years, looking at the evolution of some of the retailers we visited, like QuikTrip and Sheetz and Wawa. But I haven't gone as deep and as wide as this in a little while. So I was really pleased to take the opportunity to go and really have a good look across the other states and go up to places like Des Moines and Iowa, which I'd never been to before. And that was a real, jaw dropper for me personally, because it's not just in the hotlands of the past hotbeds of convenience store. It's actually right across America. And I was struck by how the quality, the competition, and the whole marketplace has moved right up, Dan. So, we see that competition right around the world. We see markets like the whole Irish market's moved up. We know that. The UK's market moving up in Europe. But in the US, we're seeing these regional players branch out. We're seeing the competition get hotter. We're seeing them bump into each other, and we're seeing everybody up their game. So I was absolutely delighted to see that, because I've said this a couple of times to you on our podcast. The biggest opportunity is food, and the biggest threat to QSRs is actually convenience stores, because we know how to do it. We've got better locations. We've got friendlier staff. And frankly, we've got better economics. So I was thrilled to kind of meet the leaders, talk to the leaders, and find out what's making our industry great.
The other, if I could just add, Dan, the other interesting point that I saw that for Frank here is that, when you ask many of these retailers who their competition is in food, it's not other convenience stores. It is, the QSRs, it's the McDonald's, it's the KFCs, it's the, Church's Chicken of the world. And that was telltale for me, because it means that the industry can work together to actually up their game to provide better taste and better quality food than you can find at a fast food restaurant.
And I think also I want to add that there's one thing that our industry does so much better than QSRs, and that is beverages. So that wide selection of packaged beverages, I mean, there's nothing like that, and that goes so well with expanding your food offer as well.
Well, what I'd like to do, guys, in the next few minutes is give you all a chance to talk about some of the different retailers that you spent time with, and I'll do that in a second. But just to frame this, obviously, as Frank mentioned, Frank, you've served as Insight Board. You're still serving as Insight Board advisor. It's been a great pleasure working with you, and of course, you went to the US as Insight Board advisor, helping us promote and publicize the best Foodvenience store in the world competition. You've been such a great support for this competition, and the goal with the competition is three things really. I mean, we're looking for excellence and innovation from a point of view of the customer experience, operational excellence and performance. We're giving everybody, because obviously we're publishing all these case studies online, they're all on the globalconvenience.com website. We're giving everybody a showcase of that best practice. Anyone in the world can access this and be inspired by it. And believe me, I think they are. And finally, the teams in the stores love this competition because it recognizes the work that they do, and the people that do this day in, day out, 24/7. So, the theme of the competition is to go and find these great operators globally and then showcase them. Last year we had 32 entries from 15 countries across 6 continents, and obviously we had a chance to showcase what was happening in the US with this trip. And well, as the guys have already said, a lot was going on. So let's dig into some of the different states that we went to, and I'll ask you guys to chime in and tell me a bit about some of the operators. It all began, and I guess this is kind of appropriate, it all began in Massachusetts for the US. It all began on your road trip in in Boston, didn't it? And perhaps, Matt, you could tell us a little bit about your visit to Nouria and also Alltown Fresh in that market.
Absolutely. My second visit to Boston. So Nouria was the first one that we visited. We saw first the Munford store. We met with Joe Hamso, the chief operating officer, and also Steve Skids, the director of fresh foods. We tasted food offer that delivered both on quality, on creativity. I think we tasted made to order options such as their cheese paso bread, the Ramato's real Italian sandwich, their triple double bulky breakfast sandwich, and the Ramato's specialty pizza. Fantastic taste that morning. Our first kind of first tasting rounds, and then we went to their second store, the store in Webster. They had the crispy, crunchy chicken. We wanted to taste that and have an experience with that. Great execution, really tasty, good variety of sauces and dippings, and then we were also served a delicious pizza with peach, which the store manager said that was like the weekly special, a tribute to their friends in a market in Georgia. Also lovely. And I think in both these Nouria stores, we experienced great coffee offer, wide range of packaged beverages. They've taken sort of the fountain drinks area down to a minimum, really focusing on that wide selection of packaged beverages, putting a lot of space to their energy drinks and so on. Ryan was able to find his favorite, the Uptime energy drinks.
Uptime, absolutely.
So just a great start of the road trip. I mean, Joe and Steve was really making us feel welcomed and providing a lot of hospitality, and we got a lot of great tasting experiences. And then we went to see Alltown Fresh, their store in Hudson. Met with Jason Lord, their corporate chef. And again, got served some great food. We tasted their acai smoothies, a variety of handcrafted, made to order food. I think the hot Cuban sandwich was one of my favorites from that week. That was really great. Beautiful store, gives this fresh, exclusive feeling. It's not really a typical convenience store. Great food, great coffee offer, quite a good selection of bakery items, and again, a wide selection of packaged beverages. But that entire kind of architecture of the building, the aisles, the ceiling, everything is just a different experience really than the average C-store. And the way that they've done seating, somewhat organized in a way which you would have tapas in Barcelona or Malaga. So really doing something different that gives you a different feeling of also the food offer that they have at play. So great start. Maybe Frank and Ryan can add to that.
Yeah, just one-liners really, and then we're gonna ask you about some of the other retailers. But Ryan, maybe just maybe a one-liner on Nouria and a one-liner on Alltown Fresh. Your views.
Yeah, so on Nouria, great localization or regionalization of an Italian restaurant that is important in that community. And then on Alltown Fresh, I would say really driving this fresh concept of almost like Whole Foods in a QSR. But both concepts were very unique to the region.
Yeah,
Very
I mean,
good,
I'd
Frank.
add both of them were pretty premium in terms of how they were setting themselves up, and also the customization for the local community or their customers was awesome. So very strong, and certainly in my mind, probably in that world-class bracket, both of them.
World class in Boston. I think that's a great line to leave Boston with. So then you're jumped on an airplane. Obviously it's a big place, the US. You can't drive everywhere, although you did a lot of driving, and you headed to Philadelphia. And Ryan, tell us about and you were with Wawa, Sheetz, and Rutters. So Ryan, let's hear it from you. Quite a lineup, Wawa, Sheetz, and Rutters, isn't it?
It is, and I got to tell you, it was my first time in a Wawa and first time in a Rutters, and so as I look across, we started at Wawa, and we actually then went to Rutters and then ended up with Sheetz. I think if I look at Wawa and Sheetz, We saw Ryan Sheetz at Sheetz, and at Wawa. We met with a couple of their area leaders, Chris Edwards and Eric Bartholomew. If I think about those two together, I would say that they had similarities and they had differences. But I want to talk about the two of them together because they both offer what I would say are a lot of food options and a lot of within that personalization. And so you could go into a Wawa or a Sheetz. You can get into a self-administered menu. You can personalize your smoothie. You can personalize with spices and add-ons, breakfast pizzas, and they've got pretzels that are filled with all kinds of different fillings. And it is a lot for someone like myself, but for your consumer across the U.S. who's looking at convenience store retail food, it is almost like a destination, right? And so if you think about a destination across meal time parts, for Wawa, they have breakfast and then they stop breakfast and go, to lunch in different times. And for Sheetz, they serve breakfast, I believe, all day. The other thing that both of these companies did really well was you could actually go and order something made to order, or you get some of the similar food as grab and go. In addition to that, there was a very large presence of on-demand delivery, pickups, integration with Uber Eats and DoorDash, where the QSR, or shall I say, their deli, if you want to say that, was almost like a standalone restaurant where people actually come every day, right? And I think at the end of the day, for a convenience retail operator, that's the trick. How do you get people to go in every day and come on those return visits? Something I also wanted to highlight was the operations, right? Each of these retailers had very large kitchens, lots of different stations. Those stations turn over, and you might have one station that's going to process breakfast sandwiches, and then right at dinner they turn over to process pizza. But with Wawa in particularly, I was really impressed with how Wawa communicates with their team members. Obviously, you've seen, and many retailers have these headsets, but the headsets that Wawa uses are not just headsets for communication within the store, but they're almost little micro computers and devices where area managers and leaders can communicate off hours with each of their team members. And as retailers think about what that means for food, it really helps you up your game on how to keep that fresh, that reliable, that high quality piece. If I think about Rutters, absolutely wonderful. Scott Hartman, Chris Hartman, not only are they fantastic hosts, but they have really transformed the meaning of, I would say, large scale convenience stores in kind of rural areas, in addition to how to create a destination, particularly for truck drivers where they've got them. You walk into a Rutters, and the first thing you saw was something on the wall around, friendly, fast, fun. How do we make this experience fun? And similar to Sheetz and Wawa, you could personalize any kind of your any kind of drink you wanted. I think I had a Red Bull slushie, but the feeling was very premium. You go up to a soda fountain, and it's almost like you're using really high quality taps, not just putting your glass against a fountain, but you're actually using high quality taps. You then had what I would say is probably some of the best chicken out there, crispy. But what's interesting about Rutters is they know their audience, potatoes, and they also want to differentiate. Potatoes are a big part of the Foodvenience or convenience play, and so they have a number of different offerings that are all made with potato, from French fries to tater tots to tater tubes to potato skins. It was really interesting how they take a staple of convenience store food and sort of spread that across a number of offerings. And I think the last thing I would say about Rutters is they also have learned how to create a spot that people want to stay and play. And so they not only have a bar, but they have a bar that during the day is a lounge, and quite a nice lounge called the 777s, where you can actually come and plug in and have your food delivered to you and so forth. So all in all, it really, both Sheetz and Wawa and Rutters provided great variety, great categories across mealtime with the ultimate personalization.
Well, awesome description. Really brought it to life for us, Ryan. Anything you're going to add on to that, Frank?
Yeah, listen, Philadelphia's been a hotbed of scalable food convenience for quite a while, and we'll continue to see that. There's no surprise they're moving into other states adjacent. Wawa and Sheetz are just incredibly efficient the way they run their business. The revenues are strong, profitability. So it's an actual perfect operating model in my view. I think what the guys in Rutters are trying to do is kind of be disruptive. So they're bringing new things like sports bars and gambling, bigger stores. So, in fairness to the guys, the Hartmans, they're looking around the world and they're trying to future proof their business for the next 10 years. And we're seeing a bit of that up in that new store. It's quite incredible.
I'd like to add also like the way that you communicate your food. I think we saw that on the second store in Nouria with those big screens. But when we came into Wawa and then Sheetz and then Rutters, the way that they use their digital screens really sort of to create emotional pictures of their food. That's really, really great. And in the Rutters also you see the use of lightning and so on as well, that to create the ambience that you want to do.
Well, it was a great continuation of the journey in Philadelphia. Obviously, I spent a lot of time in the Boston market, just like you, Frank, over the last couple of decades, really. I spent a lot of time in the Philadelphia market too, with Wawa, Sheetz, and Rutters. And you always go there to see world-class convenience retail. But like you, I haven't spent much time in Des Moines and Iowa, although I do know the QuikTrip brand from other markets. But Matt, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about Des Moines and what was great in Des Moines, because it was pretty good, wasn't it?
It was definitely and first time in Des Moines for sure. So we met QuikTrip with the Q first in the morning. John Van Meer, the QT personal manager, overseeing that area of stores. Obviously a large player, more than 1,000 stores, 17 states. So it's obviously one of those giants. Experienced the QuikTrip kitchens. I've seen that in the past as well as in Atlanta. We tried out their made to order touchscreen ordering, which was great, as also we saw in Pennsylvania. Different fountain approach, which was pretty cool, quite playful, somewhat similar to also what Rutters is doing, but still different. Tasted a variety of foods, some cinnamon pretzels, some breakfast sandwiches, even their donuts, and of course their coffee. They also have this new concept and machines for hot and cold tea. Lots of different variation. Really busy store. You're welcomed immediately when you come in. The POS is there in the center of the store. The employees and the store manager office is actually there at the center of the floor. Walking the floor, you also had to be a bit cautious because there were robots there cleaning the floor, and they've scaled that throughout their stores. So quite impressive to see that as well. And again, I think with QuikTrip and as well as with Wawa and Sheetz, I think part of why they're so good at the execution is also that they have very low turnover on store employees. So they're talking about the range of 25 to 35% turnover employees in comparison with maybe an average of 100. So obviously that is part of the success story as well. And then we went to QuikTrip with a K, or QuikStar, as they have the brand in these markets where they tend to have consumers mixing them up with QuikTrip with a Q. We saw two different Quick stores. The first one in Urbandale, the second one in Johnston. Very consistent in their execution. We met Ben Wilson, the director of food service, and of course the store teams. 900 stores across Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa, and I mean, very unique vertically integrated model. So that means that they really control bakery, dairy, and have a lot of proprietary brands like Karuba Coffee, Nature's Touch, which we were able to taste, their ice cream and so on, Urge, Quickery and so on. But they say they are not competing with quick service restaurants. They're competing with grocery, and they're really that local place to get all the things that you need for your everyday purchases. So wide range of grocery items really in these stores, and beautiful operations. Tasted a lot of great food there as well. Great coffee, frappes, cold brew. I got my Americanos. I was happy, and then lastly we went to Casey's.
Yeah, I was gonna sort of really push the cases because obviously this was a a retailer that's got a massive reputation in the US, Frank, hasn't it? And I think they're now the fifth largest uh, pizza restaurant in the US, aren't they? But they're a convenience store chain as well. So I think the Cases visit was pretty important, Frank. Maybe I could bring you in on Cases.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've admired the Casey's business model for a while, but I hadn't experienced this level of hospitality. And I'm going to call it hospitality. I mean, we got a really warm welcome from the team. Darren met us, and we had a great chat with Darren. Tom Brennan, who's chief marketing, they gave us great insights into how their business model works. And that's really powerful stuff. But the star of the show is the pizza, right? So we tasted it. We were blown away by the quality of the ingredients and the delivery by the staff. And there's no surprise that they are probably considered the best pizza in the US. And that's up against some of the QSRs. I put them top number one in my view. Plus they've got great fries and great chicken. So I would say the execution in Casey's is unstoppable. I wouldn't like to be competing with them, to be honest, Dan, because they have great leaders. They've got a clear business model. They've got unbelievable marketing strategies. Their promotional programs are strong. And, you can see that in the growth in their profitability and their share price. That is stellar in my view. And it's a great credit to Darren and the team. What an outfit.
Well, very good. Ryan, just let me stay on Cases and as an American, let me get your point of view on Cases, because obviously globally, I suppose for decades we've been very aware of the capabilities of businesses like Sheetz and Wawa, particularly, that are world famous, have been world famous for a while. If you look at Cases, they're not so well known outside the US, and yet they should be, I think. Do you agree with that? Any comments?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I would 100% agree. They're a staple to what Frank mentioned it's how they deliver that consistent quality across their entire portfolio in a very warm, inviting atmosphere. And so the question is, I know Casey's has done really well expanding across the U.S. I don't know if they're going to be looking globally, but I absolutely think that you and other leaders should spend some time getting to know their business and how they have actually delivered that success here in the United States.
So Ryan, I asked Darren that question. He said, "Does the United States is so big and there's so many opportunities, they're just going to stick with the US for the moment."
And I think they'll do really well, right? I mean, there's so much territory out there, and living in Knoxville, I feel very lucky that we just got Casey's in the market a couple of years ago. And what's interesting is they acquired sites and they brought their brand and they brought the C-store. It wasn't until later that they actually introduced pizza everywhere. And so it was an interesting model. Obviously, they had to put in, the pizza infrastructure. But, and look, they're doing pretty well.
It brings us to the last stop, though, on the trip, Dan. And, we weren't going to miss Texas. I'm going to let you in on a secret. We did visit a Buc-ee's on the way to TXP just to see what it was like. And, I have to say it's a whole lot of madness, but I'll let you figure that one out yourself if you ever go there. But for me, the highlight for me personally was to get down and see Kevin and the team in TXP. We've been treated to an amazing red carpet everywhere else and phenomenal stuff. But, that site in College Station, his new concept site, is absolutely stunning. Right? The design, the branding, the tone of voice, when you first interact with the pump, the technology, the digital communication, you then come into the store and, they've really, really put a lot of thought and effort into this. I actually couldn't fault anything with it. The toilets were world-class toilets, the fixturization, the merchandising, digital signage. I could go on and on and on because I really enjoyed every bit of it. And we had a very warm welcome from the team. Although Kevin wasn't there, the whole team, I think everybody else was there, so from Ben, who heads up marketing and merch, to Sam, who heads up ops, and all the food service guys. And then the frontliners, who are the most important. They're the stars of the show. I mean, we got hugs from everybody, and Ryan might got a few kisses on the cheek, perhaps, because he's better looking than I am. But we had a phenomenal time just sampling the food. I would say, what a store. I would tell everybody, go have a look at what Kevin and team are doing. It's exceptional, right? Everything was beautiful about it. And, from the loyalty program right the way through, very carefully thought through. And I've no doubt, based on some of the numbers I saw, extremely successful.
The other thing, if I could just add there, Dan, when I think of TXB, I think of fresh, I think of fast, I think convenient. In the first store that Frank was mentioning, they had their chicken brand, which they call Cluck Yeah, by the way. And then right next to their chicken, they had their taqueria, their Mexican, right? And they've picked concepts, and they're delivering on those concepts really well, right? No pizza, no hamburgers, but doing chicken and everything chicken extremely well and side dishes, and doing Mexican. They even make their own tortillas right in front of you. The tortilla comes out. All the meats are very, very fresh. And so fresh, fast, convenient, warming. It was a phenomenal end to a Foodvenience road trip.
Well, very, very well summed up. I suppose good news in that I hear that TXB are entering our competition, Frank. So, amongst the number of the retailers you visited, that they're entering. So delighted.
It'll be tough, Dan. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. They were all quite unique, and while I love TXB, Rutters are going to give them a run for their money. And we're going to see a couple of entries from South America. We see some stuff from Europe. So the competition's hot, but that's good. In my mind,
it's not like the chicken.
Absolutely. Oh, actually, yeah, the chicken was hot too. So listen, I'm quite excited about it this year, Dan. The competition should build from strength to strength. And, I want to thank all of our American friends who hosted us. They could not have been more friendly and provided more hospitality. It was an absolute credit to the industry and a credit to them and their families.
Well, absolutely. So again, just to sum up from our point of view, big thank you to Nouria, Alltown Fresh, Wawa, Sheetz, Rutters, QuikTrip with a Q, QuikTrip with a K, Cases, and ending in Texas with TXB. And thank you to Buc-ee's as well for I know we'd love to talk to Buc-ee's in the future because we know how famous you are, and we love what you're doing. So what a week, guys. And I think you're probably a little bit tired at the end of it though.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a definite glass of Sauvignon Blanc, which was well deserved, Dan. And I've kind of recharged the batteries. But I really enjoyed my time with Ryan and Mats, and we got to know each other much better. And part of these road trips is building relationships and friendships, and we certainly have done that.
Well, absolutely. So, thank you, Ryan and Mats, for joining Frank and others on this week. And I think you enjoyed it, didn't you?
Absolutely,
it was
our
great.
pleasure.
And we'll all be together at the NACS show when we listen to this again. We'll be right in the middle of the judging and shortlisting process then for these for the top Foodvenience stores in the world. So that'll be pretty exciting. We'll be running through to the final winner announcement on November the 13th. And what I would say is look forward to chatting more at the NACS show. Thanks for listening, and guys, tremendous thanks for giving us such a good summary of what was a very exciting week for you all, and a very exciting week for Foodvenience, I think, as well.
Thank you for listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, produced by Dan Munford, Nick Scherzer, Jenna Ferguson, and Lorraine Evans. It is produced and edited and mixed by Carolyn Schneer, and music is provided by Jukebox Music. Learn more at globalconvenience.com.